Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Terry. In this video, I'm gonna talk about my experiences with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My experience with the Latter-day Saints started, I don't remember how old I was, but at some point when I was a little kid, a family of Latter-day Saints moved in next door to my family. And that was the first time I remember hearing of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I know at some point while they lived next door, there were TV commercials that started being on TV where you could call an 800 number and get a copy of the Book of Mormon and a Bible. And the commercials were really neat because they were centered on the idea of the importance of family. But back to my neighbors. There was the parents, and there was, I want to say there were 4 kids. This was almost 40 years ago, so it's kind of hard to remember exactly how many there were. The oldest one was close to my age. I would hang out with them sometimes, and then eventually it got to the point where I would go over to their house, and I don't remember what it was called back then. They would do like a scripture study thing, and my parents would let me go over there once in a while for that. I would bring over my Bible, because that's all I had. I didn't have a Book of Mormon or anything. So I'd bring over my Revised Standard Version Bible, which was the Bible I had at the time, and I would listen to what the dad would be saying about scripture. We'd mostly go over the Bible. Sorry, my cat wants to get in the video. So that would be fun. And then there'd be times that we'd go play sports in their backyard and stuff. And sometimes I'd ask their dad what they believed about God, or I'd ask them what they believed about God. I knew their Bible was different than mine because it had other stuff in it. It had the Book of Mormon and stuff in it. At the time, I didn't know what the Book of Mormon was. And so let me see, what should I go to next? I never went to church with them. My parents wouldn't let me go to church with them. Then fast forward to the early 2000s, there was a comic book called The Golden Plates, and I only collected enough issues to go up to chapter 9, I think, of the Book of Mormon. It was a comic book that was kind of like a Mormon version of the Picture Bible, which the Picture Bible was I don't know when the Picture Bible originally came out, but there were versions of the Picture Bible in the 70s, because I remember having those in Sunday school when I was a kid. But anyway, this Golden Plates comic book, getting back to that, sorry to get sidetracked about the Picture Bible. It was a comic book of the stories in the Book of Mormon. And I really thought that was interesting. And I had a friend that owned a used bookstore, and she had a copy of the Book of Mormon. It was one from the 70s. Sadly, all my Mormon books right now are in storage because I moved. But anyway, I have that copy from the 70s. It had a blue cover, and it has Moroni from like the top of the temple in Salt Lake on the cover. So I read in that some, but then I reached a point in it where I got frustrated with it and put it down for a while. Reread the comics I had, the Golden Plates comics I had. Then fast forward to 2009, I started going to community college. And I was going to a church, and we were learning a little bit about other religions at that church, and I pulled out that Book of Mormon again and started reading it in a little bit, but then I saw a commercial again for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I wanted to find out more about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I wasn't interested at that point in joining them or being a part of them at that point. I just wanted to learn more. So I called the 800 number and requested a Book of Mormon. That came in the mail, and it was a newer one. It had a blue cover, and it had gold writing on it. It said Book of Mormon, another testament of Jesus Christ on the cover. And so I started reading that. It only took me 2 weeks to read the Book of Mormon, that first time I read it all the way through. Then, while I was working on reading that, one day I had a knock at the door, and there were two missionaries. And because it's so long ago, I don't remember their names. They were nice. They brought me the copy of the King James Bible I had requested it from the 800 number, because I wasn't sure if there was a difference between their King James Bible and the one I had at the time. And the only difference really is the footnotes. In the footnotes, you get little bits of the Joseph Smith translation. Then in the back of that Bible, there's a section where it's got more of the Joseph Smith translation. So that was nice of them to bring it to me, and we had a nice theological discussion about Christianity and the differences between Protestant Christianity and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I agreed to, take the missionary lessons. And so I went through the missionary lessons. They took me to church. I got to see what their church services were like. I got to meet people in the ward. Everybody was really nice. It was nice meeting all the people. I got to go over to dinner at some different people's houses and meet a whole bunch of people, and everybody was really kind, and very welcoming and very understanding of the point of view I was coming from. So I went through all the missionary lessons, decided at that time not to join, but I still continued to be involved with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and at the same time still go to the church that I was going to at the time. And I was invited to one of the general conferences that year to go over to somebody's house to watch general conference on. They had a way of showing it on their TV. I don't know how they did that. So I got to watch general conference, their TV, and between each session, they would let me ask them questions about what I saw, in case there was stuff I did not understand. So I thought that was really cool. That was really neat. So that went on for like a year, and in that year, while I was meeting with the missionaries, during the missionary lessons before I started going to the Latter-day Saint Church, I was reading the Book of Mormon, and in the footnotes I was talking about, it would mention D and C, and I don't remember what the initials for Pearl of Great Price were. Even I have my quad right here. I could look it up, but anyway, I saw these abbreviations, and I pulled one of the missionaries aside after one of the missionary lessons, and I'm like, what does this mean? And he explained to me there was a book called The Doctrine and Covenants, which is revelations that the prophet Joseph Smith received as the church was being founded, and over time some other prophets had added to the Doctrine and Covenants. And he told me about the Pearl of Great Price, which contains the Book of Abraham, the Book of Moses, and a history of the Latter-day Saint Church. And there's also the Articles of Faith or Articles of Religion. Anyway, so I asked him, how can I go about getting other Latter-day Saint books? So he said he would talk to somebody in the ward, and somebody else in the ward got me a quad to use for a while till I could get my own. And that's when I found out about Deseret Books. And so I started to read Doctrine and Covenants and the Pearl of Great Price. I read the Pearl of Great Price in like 2 hours that first time I read it. I thought it was really good. And then I had worked on reading Doctrine and Covenants so that when I went over for watching General Conference, I had been reading Doctrine and Covenants. So I was able to see some connections between what was said at General Conference and some of the things in the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, and Pearl of Great Price. So that was neat. Then after that, I still was, interacting with missionaries, and eventually the missionaries changed to another team. That went on for like a year. Then I decided to go through the missionary lessons again because that's what they wanted me to do if I wanted to join the church. So I was going through the missionary lessons again, and my mom was having issues with me being involved with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but she wouldn't tell me what they were. I'll tell you about that at the end of this video, because she did eventually tell me. So I went through the missionary lessons again, and I ended up joining. I got baptized, was as involved as I could be. One of the things I got to do was go around with one of the missionary teams 1 day a week, I think it was. I would go around with the missionaries while they're presenting the gospel to people. So that was interesting to get to see kind of what a day with the missionaries was like, to see what their day was like. So I thought that was interesting. And the missionaries I was with were really nice guys. They really knew the scriptures really well. And they showed me a way of marking my quad that I had at that time in a way that would help me to study it better. So that was cool. I got to go to the temple. Oh, I had the Aaronic priesthood before. I got the Aaronic priesthood before I went to the temple. And so I got to do some stuff at the temple. A wonderful experience. I liked going to the temple. I think I only went there 2 or 3 times, doing the same thing every time. I didn't do the whole thing of going through the whole temple while I was a Latter-day Saint. I read through the Book of Mormon again, but the second time I went slower, and it took me a month to read it. And I read most of the Doctrine and Covenants again. And then now I'm going to have to talk about community college a little bit here. By this point, I had chosen to get an associate's degree. When I originally started at community college, I just wanted to take one class, and that was forensic anthropology because I was a fan of the TV show Bones, and also because I liked Indiana Jones, and anthropology is related to what Indiana Jones does. So I took that class, and I liked it so much, I decided I wanted to get an associate's degree and take every archaeology and anthropology class the community college offered, and take whatever electives I could that would be as close to that as I could. So I was doing all that while all this was going on with the Latter-day Saint Church. And when I joined the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, I had stopped going to that Protestant church I had been going to for quite a while. So there were groups at the community college that you could be a part of. Not Latter-day Saint Church groups. I couldn't find a Latter-day Saint church group at the community college. There were Catholic groups, there were Protestant groups, but there was no Latter-day Saint group that I could find. There was an LGBT group, there was a whole bunch of groups. So anyway, couldn't really find a group at college that was Latter-day Saint focused. So that caused me to struggle a little. So I forgot to say something at the beginning of this video, and I should have said it sooner, and I'll put it in the video description. I do have respect for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I have a lot of respect for the members. My issues, when I get to the end of my story, you'll see my issue is with the policies of the church, not the theology, not the leaders. It's the policies. Okay? So, sorry to be interrupting my story. For that, I should have said that at the very beginning of the video. If any Latter-day Saints ever watch this video, I'm not a angry ex-Latter-day Saint. So things go on. I get used to the Latter-day Saint way of doing things. I stopped drinking tea. So I stopped drinking tea because of the word of wisdom. I even stopped drinking pop because I thought that's what the word of wisdom said. Then at some point, I realized I needed to talk to the bishop about some issues I was having. Maybe someday I'll do a video about those issues. I don't feel like I'm ready to talk about those issues in this video, but I'll talk about the other issues in this video. I have the bishop come over, and because I was feeling nervous, I had one of my friends from that Protestant church be with me, which in hindsight I regret doing. So the bishop comes into my apartment and sits down, and I tell him I'm struggling. I explained to him I was struggling a little bit with tithing. Not that I stopped tithing, I didn't. I was tithing. I told him I was struggling with the fact that questions I asked the original group of missionaries. I asked them a question about the LGBT community, and the answer they gave me at the time did not deter me from being involved with the Latter-day Saint Church. But then later, I don't remember what Latter-day Saint source I looked at, but one of them pointed out how the Latter-day Saints do feel about the LGBT community. And I explained to the bishop that I had LGBT friends. When I told the bishop that, he told me on no uncertain terms, and I've later found out what I'm about to tell you, a bishop is not supposed to do. He said I have to cut off all ties with those people. And I pointed out to the bishop, wait a minute, Jesus spent his time being around people that religious people consider to be sinners. And I'm like, I don't think it's right of you to say that I can't be friends with you. And if that's the stance you're taking, I don't know what the options are. So then he says that because I'm hanging out with these people, there's going to have to be, I don't remember the term for it now. There's going to have to be like a meeting with the elders. I don't know if it was the elders, meaning the missionaries, or congregation leaders. I don't remember, because this was like, how many years ago was it? It was 13 years ago. This was 13 years ago. So I don't remember the term for this kind of meeting. So he wanted me to go to this meeting, which I guess is essentially like a trial, where I'd have to go and defend the fact that I'm spending time with them. And he told me the odds are I would be excommunicated, which from what I understand, they don't use the term excommunicated anymore. So I told him, well, what are my other options? He said my other options were to go inactive. But if I go inactive, if I ever decide to be active again, I'd have to catch up on any tithes if I stopped paying tithes. So I was like, I don't like that option. And the other option was to have my name removed from the membership rolls. So I thought for a few minutes, and he's like, if you do that, all the blessings I'd received, I would lose all the blessings I'd received from God in the time I had been involved in the Church of Jesus Christ, the Latter-day Saints, and that all the stuff I did in the temple would have to be redone by somebody else. And in my mind, I'm like, about the stuff about the temple, I'm like, I don't think God works that way where he needs things to be redone just because somebody leaves a religion. And as far as losing the blessings, I even believe that God's not going to remove a blessing from you just because you leave one denomination. I mean, it's not like I was leaving Christianity altogether. It's not like I was giving up on God the Father, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. I wasn't giving up on that. Of the options I had in front of me, I said, please remove my name from the membership rolls. So the bishop agreed. I didn't want to stop being friends with the bishop. In fact, he even said, let's not stop being friends. After that meeting was over, start going back to that Protestant church. And then about a month later, I get the letter from the Church of Jesus Christ, the Latter-day Saints, saying that my name has been removed from the membership. And about About 2 months later, I had to check myself into the hospital for anxiety because I was struggling with everything that had happened in the last 2 years, plus all the stress of community college, because it was starting to get stressful. So that happened. It took years to get over that anxiety. It took a long time for my mind to get clear again. After about a couple of months of being back at that Protestant church, I didn't feel like I belonged there either. And so then I went back to the church I was raised in, the United Methodist Church.